Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix San Antonio here from Texas. My name is Marshall Sutcliffe. I am in the booth with Jacob Van Lunen, and we are looking at Tyler Lytle on the left-hand side versus David Gomez on the right in round 10. These are the only two undefeated players of 809 that started, and they are already underway. David has a Avacyn's Pilgrim, and Tyler Lytle has a turn 2 Searing Spear to kill it on his main phase. He's not going to let David get even one activation for mana out of that thing. And it looks like he's drawn in a Falconwrath Aristocrat.
Now, Tyler doesn't really need a creature, doesn't need to be aggressive against the green white deck. He can just passively play removal spells, and when he starts getting to his 4 and 5 drops, he's going to be playing at he's going to be operating at a much higher efficiency than David is.
Okay.
So when he can start casting Falconwrath Aristocrats and Thundermaw Hellkites every turn, he's going to be winning.
Okay, and so right now you see that he is taking that exact strategy. He played a Victim of Night on the second Avacyn's Pilgrim. He just refuses to let David have one. David's stuck on 2 lands, and he wants to keep it that way, but it looks like he's found a third here. Actually, he might not even... Does he have any more lands in hand?
It looks like he doesn't have white mana, and he needs it.
Okay, so he's keeping him off of white mana. He does have a Knight of Infamy now, which has protection from white. It also has Exalted. It's going to allow him to attack for 3 damage here. He's going to follow up with a Gravecrawler and just ship the turn back. End step.
Ooh.
There's one. Wolfear Avenger. Yeah, so this is a 3/3 with flash. You can pay 1 and a green to regenerate Wolfear Avenger. And it looks like it's just going to sit back on defense. This is a nice metagame choice here. Certainly deals with Knight of Infamy nicely. And that's a card that seems to have really been a problem for some of the decks out there today. Yesterday. All right, Tyler Lytle sitting at a perfect 9-0. Looking to keep it that way, and it looks like he's just simply passed the turn back. No attacks, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a 4th land, and his hand is, I believe, 2 Hellriders, an Aristocrat.
Ooh, jeez. So once he hits that,
can't do anything.
Once he hits that 4th land, especially if it's a red source, he can certainly start to apply some pressure.
Oh yeah, I mean, maybe he has a few cheaper reactive spells in hand still. I'm not sure, but.
David Gomez stands. It's weird. These guys, it looks almost like it's paused. They're so still.
I think it is paused.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't?
No, he did this earlier, too. All right, he's going to play a Rancor on the Wolfear Avenger. Is this just because he has nothing else to do with his turn?
He also has regeneration mana open.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's kind of why not?
Making a 5/3 trampling regenerator.
Yeah, he's not attacking with it.
Okay.
All right, it looks like a Searing Spear here. So is there an argument for attacking with your Knight of Infamy and kind of 2-for-1ing yourself to get this really pesky Wolfear Avenger off the table?
I think you just attack with the Gravecrawler because it's still going to be attacking for 3.
Oh, yeah, fair.
And David maybe
so 1.5 because you figure that Gravecrawler can come back at some point during this game.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he says, I'm just going to be patient. Also, by doing this is an interesting play by Tyler because now David he's already cramped on mana, and now he can't play anything. If he plays cards and he does too many, he won't have regeneration available, and so he's just not developing his board. He does find another land in the form of a forest, though, and Tyler is examining his options here. He does have a Searing Spear in hand, but David has 2 regeneration triggers available. Or activations available, and so it would basically equal 4 damage for Tyler, and that's not really worth a card in your hand, especially when that card does 3 by itself.
Yeah, I think Tyler's probably just going to untap here.
Yeah.
Though, again, the argument for using the Searing Spear here is that all the cards in your hand cost 4, so unless you, okay, yeah.
Wow, he does go for it. He's going to just burn a Searing Spear. So is he just really hoping to hit a land here? He did. He hit a mountain, the absolute ideal land, right on time. Falconwrath Aristocrat, and he is going to attack in there for 8 damage.
Yep.
So that worked out pretty well. If he doesn't hit the land, though, I wonder what his backup plan was. It's hard to see all the cards in his hand.
If he doesn't hit the land, he knows that he really kind of needs to hit the land that turn. Well, he doesn't really know that. He doesn't know what David's playing. But everything in his hand costs 4. So if he doesn't use the Searing Spear there, and then he does draw the land, he's never casting that Searing Spear. It's just stranded in his hand for the rest of the game.
I don't know if I think I'd like to have that Searing Spear in my hand going long. He will resolve it eventually, and it represents a pretty nice chunk of damage to David. I mean, he used it essentially, like, if he doesn't draw a land, he gets in for 4. He can get in for 3 with it. Isn't it insane how still David sits when he's looking at it? I keep thinking of the videos, but look at that.
It actually looks paused.
He's a machine. All right, looks like he's thinking about his options here. He's got, all right, that is a Temple Garden. It is untapped. He's going to drop down to 7.
Wow.
Yeah, so
danger zone.
He is living on the edge, and it's going to be, ooh.
Wolfir Silverheart.
Wolfir Silverheart, so
he's just dead. Tyler has Hellrider in hand.
Yeah. David does not know that yet.
Yeah.
And in fact, he's going to go on the offensive here. But David probably sees the writing on the wall. I mean, he knows that he's going down to 3 here regardless. Actually, he's going down to 2 here anyway. He doesn't even show him the Hellrider. He just plays another Falcon Wrath Aristocrat and just battles for lethal. Yep. All right, so Tyler Lytle picks up the first game here in round 10 from San Antonio. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I am joined by Jacob Van Lunen here in the booth. And I think this is a matchup we should get used to watching.
Yeah, I think this is going to become more and more common, especially in the next week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah, we need to make a deck that beats both of these.
Back toward the other way. Jund beats both of these.
Yes, it does. We were taking a look at a deck that Willie Adel was playing yesterday, and he did make day 2 with it.
Yeah, the aggro Jund deck from Willie Adel.
Yeah,
I'm still not sure if I like it better than the mid-range Jund deck.
Uh-huh. You would rather have as many answers as humanly possible. I mean, the deck is running things like Gravecrawler, which is, is certainly a one-minded creature, single-minded.
And the deck looks good, but I like playing control-y creature decks. It's good to be aggressive, but it's also good to just have a lot of room to maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Bonfire of the Damned out of Tyler Lytle's board, that's going to be huge here. If he can, obviously, if he miracles that at any point after, turn 3, he's probably getting at least a 2-for-1, dealing extra damage to David, and it's going to let him surprise attack. So I'd say that the Bonfires in Tyler's deck in post-boarded games, those are definitely going to make a big difference in this matchup. We saw how strong Mizium Mortars was against the green-white aggro deck when we watched Willie Edel dispatch of Brian Kibler with a 4-card hand. But
yep, he started on 4, and he worked his way up to 6 mana, and in the end got a 5-for-1 off of Mizium Mortars.
Something that's interesting is the current format, all of the decks are operating at different stages of the game. Even the most aggressive decks are playing 4 and 5 drops. The green-white deck has Sublime Archangels. The red-black decks have Hellriders, Aristocrats, and Thundermaw Hellkites. People have to go big in this format. Otherwise, you're just going to have all of your work undone by a single Thragtusk.
That's right.
So, because all these creature decks are going into Cavern mode with Hellkites and Aristocrats, it makes the control decks a lot worse. But in the same sense, the fact that the control decks have to adapt to that, it makes the aggro decks not be able to play the most offensive cards possible.
That's right.
So the format is really holding itself up. It's on stilts right now. The aggro decks are dictating how the control decks are built and vice versa. It's really good standard format. One of the better standard formats I've seen in a long time.
I agree. I think it's really interesting how that plays out because, when the aggro decks decide that they need to slow down a little bit but pack a bigger punch, that does play into what the control decks are trying to do because, I know I've played control decks quite a bit. And when people get off to a really, really quick start versus you and put you under that pressure to have the sweeper, have the answer that you need right now, that's what you want to avoid. And when people aren't really trying to play things until turn 4, turn 5 to really finish you off, that gives you enough time to build up your mana and find the answers that you need. So these aggro decks are probably a little bit worse versus control.
Yeah, but in the same sense, if you're going to build the traditional aggro deck or really aggressive aggro deck, you just lose to a Thragtusk, and people are playing Farseek. People are ramping into that.
That's right.
It's just impossible to do that right now.
Yep.
So
though
you're right that if you're playing against a control deck and they're not going to draw Thragtusk ever, then you would want to build them much more aggressive, like a much more aggressive build. They actually have to slow their decks down and make their decks worse against control in general in order to beat the control decks.
Yeah, it's interesting.
If that makes any sense. And it's not in order to make their deck better against control, it's to make their deck better against Thragtusk specifically.
Thragtusk specifically, and the control decks are running it. If you look at the Bant list, it looks a lot more like blue-white control with a Thragtusk than anything else. All right, so David is taking a look at his opener here as we go to Game 2 of the only 2 undefeateds left in the building. The winner of this match will be the last man standing as far as undefeated records go.
Ooh, Tyler. Tyler's hand has a lot of removal spells and 2 Cavern of Souls. So you can't really keep that if he doesn't draw a mountain and a swamp in the first few turns.
Yeah.
Or a Dragon Skull Summit.
And Tyler's deck is running things like Victim of Night, that kind of thing, where like those are just blanks if you have the double Cavern opener.
Especially because he actually had a Victim in his opener too.
Did he? Yeah, because David Gomez, his deck can be very, very powerful, very, very quick as well. We've seen that the green-white deck can pack a massive punch. Yesterday, if you guys missed it, we had Patrick Chapin on camera versus Josh Utter-Layton, and Patrick gained 76 life, I believe is what we counted in one game. And he won, but it was really close because Josh was doing damage in like 16 to 20 damage chunks. It was massive hits that Chapin was taking.
At one point, Chapin had gained, I think it was 46 life, and yet he was at 3.
He was at 3, yeah. Against green-white.
Against green-white.
Yeah.
And he had cast 3 Supreme Verdicts that game.
He did, yeah.
And he needed to top deck to not die.
And he needed another one, yeah.
It was a very good game.
It was a sweet, sweet match to watch on camera, that's for sure. And it shows the power level that this green-white deck has. Maybe I fall victim to history, but when I see these green-white lists, I don't think of it in terms of having that level of punch.
A Silverblade Paladin in conjunction with Wolfear Silverheart can represent a lot of damage. So, David Gomez not playing Sublime Archangel, instead playing Wolfear Silverheart. An interesting list from him. A lot of ramp, a lot of cheap mana creatures. He's going a little bit bigger than a lot of the green-white decks we've seen.
So David's taking a look at his 6. Looks like he has kept it, in fact. And let's see if Tyler finds a better one. He says, sure. All right, untapped Temple Garden. That's a free shock for Tyler Lytle.
And we can expect to see Arbor Elf or Avacyn's Pilgrim here.
Yep. And there's an Arbor Elf. He chips a turn back. Now, this is always a important phase here. No, it doesn't. So that's a Rakdos Guildgate. So he does get to untap with an Arbor Elf. I think he's going to see a Centaur Healer here. Indeed, he does. Right back up to 21, and a formidable 3/3 on the board. That thing has bigger board impact than you might think for being just a 3/3.
There are so many 2/2s and 2-power guys in Tyler Lytle's deck. David Gomez has to be happy about getting that 3/3 onto the table on turn 2.
He does. Tyler Lytle does, in fact, Pillar of Flame away the Arbor Elf, but it's really a turn late. It's not inconsequential at this point, but having that turn 2 Centaur Courser is a pretty big one. And it looks like he's just got another Pillar of Flame to take out an Ulvenwald tracker that David Gomez has played, and he passes the turn back. As you mentioned before, Jake, it looks like Tyler is definitely just looking to play the control route here. He's just going to try to remove every single creature that David Gomez plays, and then finish him off with big Thundermaw Hellkites and that kind of thing. All right, we're going to name Zombie here. I'm 99%. I think we're going to see a Messenger. And there it is. Confirmed by Rusty that it is, in fact, Zombie. Yeah, confirmed also on board by the fact that he tapped it for a Messenger. Double confirmation here in the booth. All right. So David Gomez beats down and follows up with a Restoration Angel. He's going to target the Centaur Healer. He's just doing this on his main phase so he doesn't get hit by a Searing Spear at the wrong time. He's going to also have an untapped healer. And he's going to gain 3 more life to put him back up to 22. Tyler Lytle has a Vampire Nighthawk out of the board, and he can do nothing but just pass the turn back here.
I mean, he's got to like a spot here, though. Like, Tyler Lytle has...
He's pretty stable.
Yeah, he's stabilized. He's stabilized. He has a lot of... he's a good amount of removal in hand still.
The Cavern of Souls is named Angel on David Gomez's side, just for clarification. Tyler's is on Zombie.
David, taking a bit.
He just has to pass the turn back. Plays an Avacyn's Pilgrim, ships it. All
now
right.
this draw go phase of the game, we're both going to build boards and stare at each other.
This is like all Tyler, right?
And this is all Tyler's game.
Yeah, this
Tyler
is what
has
he wants.
Bonfire of the Damned in his deck.
Yeah.
If they're staring each other down and playing lands and passing the turn back and forth, eventually Tyler's going to draw Bonfire and the game's going to end.
That's right. I see that he did hit another land drop, drew another land here, which is certainly good for him. Something like a Falconwrath Aristocrat would be awesome here.
Mm-hmm. Even another Messenger, not the worst here.
He could just keep building up his board. He's not under any pressure currently. He's sitting at 11, but that Vampire Nighthawk is doing super duty. You know, it doesn't care about things like Celestia Charm.
So good. It fights with everything.
Yeah.
Gains him a little bit of life. Vampire Nighthawk, one of the best cards in Zendikar Limited.
Yeah.
It's proven itself time and time again in Constructed.
Yep, it always seems to find a niche. All right, he is going to suicide in his Messenger, assumption being that the Restoration Angel will block it. Now, David does have to decide, though, if he wants to potentially lose his Restoration Angel. And it looks like David just took it. He's at 22. He can go down to 19 and not really worry about it. And post-combat,
this is interesting. I mean, he could have waited. He could have waited till upkeep to do that.
He decides just to Searing Spear the Centaur Healer, play his land, and say go.
You know, and that's
so why did he do that?
Well, he just wants to keep the board at parity.
Okay.
But what I was saying was, Searing Spear probably would have been stronger to use that during David's upkeep, because if David does have the Celestia Charm that he would need to save the Centaur Healer, then he would have to use his mana on his turn.
Yeah.
The argument the other way around is Restoration Angel and the fact that could protect the Centaur Healer. But David didn't get another draw step, and last turn he just played an Avacyn Spellroom.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that he doesn't have the Angel.
Okay. Yep.
Doesn't have another Angel.
Yeah, that's solid. Yeah.
But obviously there's reason to play around that card. You know, maybe in some world David could have an Angel. David just forgot it was in his hand the last turn, decided to play Arbor Elf. Or David has a Wolfir Silverheart that he thought would win in the game.
If he's got a 5-drop or something, yeah.
Yeah.
David Gomez attacks with his Angel, and it gets snapped blocked by Tyler Lytle's Vampire Nighthawk. He's going to gain 2 life and go up to 13. And sure enough, David Gomez does follow up with the Wolfir Silverheart that you mentioned. That might have actually been his line there. I think he paired it up. It's hard to say if he paired it. I saw him point. All right, he did pair it, but it's irrelevant because it just became a victim of night as Geralf's Messenger attacks in for another 3 damage. It's going to bring David down to 16. Yeah, so Tyler is really controlling this board nicely, and we know that he's got at least one Thundermaw Hellkite left in his hand. He's going to need to find a red source to be able to cast it, but I really like.
Shouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah,
This deck has a lot of.
Or another cavern would do it too. Yeah, I mean he just seems like he's got the board. Currently,
this matchup definitely favors him.
Yeah. So David Gomez is looking, and this is a interesting part of the match because it looks like he's just going to attack for 1 and bring Tyler down to 12. What does he have as a follow-up play?
I don't know. Almost every play from David is dangerous for David.
He's got a land. Does he have a Thrag Tusk? What does he have? He has so many cards. Oh, he's not playing Tusk?
I guess he has 2 in the board.
Yeah, he probably brought those in, but he played nothing. So his turn was attack for 1. Go. Ooh. All right, so... Wow, all right. So David, it looks like he just has nothing at this point. He just took the damage. There was no angel. Yeah, there's nothing like that. And another Geralf's Messenger for Tyler Lytle, and it feels like all the momentum is now on Tyler's side of the table as David falls down to 11 and did just straight up nothing with his last turn except for hit a land drop and attack for 1 with an Avacyn's Pilgrim.
Looks like David drew another Wolfir Silverheart.
Okay, so that's a great blocker. And he can also just cast it and pair it up.
He can bash for 5 now, too. Tyler's at 11.
Tyler's at 12.
Or Tyler's at 12. Bashing for 5 puts him at 7. Then the Wolfir Silverheart is lethal if it gets in there. And then the Avacyn's Pilgrim's lethal if it gets a Rancor or Selesnya Charm off the top.
Okay.
So...
And we don't know what he had in it. He could easily have a Selesnya Charm in hand, right? There's no reason why he wouldn't.
No, he would have used it to save the Centaur Healer.
Well, that was like 3 or 4 turns ago, though, right? Or 2 or 3 turns ago?
I think he's only had... He's had 2 or 3 draw steps since then.
Yeah, so he could have...
But one of those draw steps was a land. One was a Wolfir Silverheart.
Okay.
And the other one was... Yeah, he has 1 on a draw step. You're right.
Okay, so he could. Yeah, unlikely, though. Is he think? So he's thinking about attacking here?
Yeah.
And dropping Tyler down to 7. David sitting at 11 is... Yeah, seems like a reasonable attack. It does hold back the Geralf's Messengers if he leaves both of them back. But he can also put himself in a really bad position where he double blocks and gets his Wolfir Silverheart killed, or even just gets it killed and then just gets attacked for 6 and just has done nothing. All right, Knight of Infamy. For Tyler Lytle, he does have a Searing Spear in his hand, a Bonfire of the Damned as well.
And a Hell Rider, it looks like, that he cannot cast.
He can Bonfire for 1, which does nothing. So does he have anything that can interrupt the plan of having a 5/5 and an 8/8 on the table?
I think he just needs to pass.
Or he can play the Knight of Infamy.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. If you play the Knight of Infamy and pass, I don't think you can attack at all here.
Yeah, he does exactly that. He just ships a turn back. And David Gomez has a little bit of momentum going here. Can he find a Rancor or a Selesnya Charm to punch through a bunch of damage here? Tyler Lytle is sitting at a very precarious 7 life. He's facing down 13 power and toughness on David's side of the board here.
It's very close.
Right now, David Gomez is at 11. If he swings with both of his creatures and doesn't have anything to follow it up with and doesn't win the game on that combat step, then Tyler Lytle will have lethal very easily. He can block with messengers as well, get extra damage. All right, so it looks like All right, he's going to play a Faith Shield on his 8/8, and that would be lethal. He's going to name black, and a Searing Spear isn't going to get it done. I think David has just stolen this game back. Boom, attack for 8 and scoop it up. So Tyler Lytle, it looked like he was in control of that game, but one Wolfear Silverheart, turns out that card's pretty good.
Card is very good. Tyler had the removal spell for the first one, but another Wolfear Silverheart came down. He didn't have the removal spell. And it turns out when you were playing a bunch of creatures, in 8/8 that gives one of your other guys +4/+4, that has a big effect on the game, especially when it costs 5 mana.
Rashad Miller very excited that big green creatures are winning here. He corrected me. He likes little green creatures that make mana.
Those are the best kind of.
He's a purist.
Creatures. I'm a big fan of the Noble Hierarch, Llanowar Elves.
Pretty depressing.
I'm also a fan of the Heritage Druid.
Now, this is the Conley Woods match, but we don't. These, unfortunately, we're having some lighting issues on that side that makes it too hard for us to actually see the cards. So we're going to just stick to the main match for today.
Now, knowing that there are Wolfear Silverhearts coming out of David Gomez's deck, we can expect Tyler to bring in Zealous Conscripts, a card that he probably did not have for Game 2.
Yeah, Zealous Conscripts is interesting with Silverhearts. It doesn't. You don't get to pair it to one of your guys. You just get it as a 4/4, but it does unpair it from whatever it was paired to, forcing David Gomez, if he's not dead at that point, to cast another creature just to repair. Repair?
To repair. Rebond.
Rebond, yeah.
Soul Bond.
Ooh, I saw some. Actually, I saw the. That's interesting. I saw the Zealous Conscripts in his sideboard still, or at least in that pile that's sitting up above there. It seems very good to me. Because remember, Tyler can keep the board clear. Like he can
keep the board
wipe
clear,
out all
and
the
a lot
small
of the time
creatures.
What's going to happen is Silverheart's going to come down on turn 4 and pair up with a mana guy, and then he just conscripts it, and the conscripts is 11 damage that turn because David won't have another blocker.
Well,
11 damage for 5 mana is really good.
How is it 11?
The Wolfear Silverheart will be paired, so it'll be 8. And the Zealous Conscripts is 3 power.
But it unpairs when you steal it.
It unpairs when you steal it?
You have to have control of both creatures for them to be paired. So when you lose control.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it unpairs it. Yeah. It's still a nice swing. 7 damage. Yeah, similarly you can't pair with your opponent's creatures
I know you can't pair with their creatures, but I thought that as long as it was on the table, but
yeah, you have to actually control it to have it paired. It's kind of a weird interaction.
replaying all the games I've seen.
In your head?
Hey, wait
a second. So I still like Tyler Lytle in this matchup. It feels like he very nearly.
The last game he had a lot of mana problems.
Yes.
He had 3 card strain in his hand. It just could not cast. The Hell Riders were uncastable because of the lands he drew. He mulliganed. Thundermaw Hellkite, never got a chance to cast that either. So, if he had gotten a chance to cast those spells, he probably would have won that game pretty easily. Then again, David Gomez, his deck, it does go bigger than Tyler's. So the question here is, if both of them have good to excellent draws, I like Tyler. If both of them have bad draws, I like David.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at their openers here.
Tyler's hand is awesome.
And it looks like they've both kept. It's going to be a Blood Crypt into Diagraph Ghoul for Tyler. David Gomez, I see an Oblivion Ring on the top. He's just drawn a Cavern of Souls. So does he have the turn 1 Accelerator? He does indeed. Oh, no, he doesn't. It's actually an Ulvenwald Tracker.
He plays one of those main and then another one on the sideboard.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and it looks like Tyler's just going to ignore the tracker for now. He's going to play a Knight of Infamy. It's going to allow him to get in for 3 damage here and drop David to 17. He's off to a very quick start.
Yeah, and especially if you're on the play like this, it's just attack right into it.
So David Gomez untaps, plays a Sun Petal Grove. He's got 2 mana at his disposal, but he does have that Ulvenwald Tracker available as well.
So David doesn't want to battle with this tracker. If he gets an opportunity to trade it with that knight, he might take it. But just in general, he's going to want to leave that thing in play because if it doesn't get killed by Tyler in the next turn or two, then David can start just using it as a free removal spell every single turn.
Yeah, well, and he can
He's
also
falling behind quickly though.
He is, but I mean, even right now, he has a play where he can ship the turn back if Tyler attacks with both. He can block Diagraph, and then just trade the. You pay 2 mana and trade his tracker.
But then he risks
for his,
Tyler just having a removal spell.
Okay. I mean, he gets the block, and he's just going to do it right now. Yeah. All right, so he's just going to do it right now in the main phase and just ship the turn back. That leaves Tyler with just a lowly 2/2, although there's also a Geralf's Messenger that's going to be delivering a very nasty message to David Gomez in just a minute. There it is. Boom, you take 2, go down to 13.
And Tyler's,
pass the turn. So this is
Tyler's just running over David.
He's running over him right now. This is a big turn for David. He's going to need to find, like, Centaur Healer would be a nice start to the recovery plan here. Centaur Healer can block the Diagraph Ghoul, then maybe get blinked by a Restoration Angel and start kind of fighting back. But it looks like David Gomez is in pause mode as he's completely motionless again.
Yeah, he just freezes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So with the tracker last turn, had David simply passed the turn instead of using the tracker during his main phase, then that would kind of force Tyler to use a spot removal spell if he had one, and if he doesn't, you get to save yourself 2 damage.
But I mean, if he uses the spot removal spell, doesn't he just fight in response?
Exactly. That's what
I see what you're saying. All right, so it's going to be an Oblivion Ring on turn 3, and it's going to take out the Geralf's Messenger. Now, Oblivion Ring, one of the better answers to Geralf's Messenger, really. He only took 2 damage from it, and that's all he's going to take from it because Tyler Lytle is on black-red and doesn't have access to enchantment destruction, although he does have access to one of the better cards in Standard, Falconwrath Aristocrat. It's going to hit the table, and it's going to bash David Gomez right down to 7, and man, he's up against it here.
This is not the spot David Gomez wants to be in.
It is not. He's done an admirable job of keeping as many things off the table, but this deck from Tyler Lytle can put a ton of pressure on the table. There's a pretty big crowd around the feature match area to see who is the last player standing and undefeated here in San Antonio. Looks like it's going to be another Ulvenwald Tracker. And does he have a healer? No, it's a Loxodon Smiter. Also pretty good, but right now he's dead to a Searing Spear, you know?
Yeah.
Not in a position that he wants to be in. I think that he's also dead to another Falconwrath Aristocrat.
Yeah.
And it looks like Tyler Lytle is going to be the only one undefeated here in San Antonio. He's going to be 10-0. He defeats David Gomez.